We will continue with the next talk. We have Lars Walther and Julian Pollinger here, and they talk about Edi.jsonforms. It's not only a form library, but it could be one. And you will get this. Thank you.
Thank you for having us here in the wonderful Jyväskylä region. We had a small round trip yesterday, and it was so wonderful. My eyes haven't seen such a composition of water and forest. It was absolutely wonderful. And thank you for the organization of such a wonderful conference. In comparison with many talks here at the conference, they talk about AI and so new things. We talk about a legacy thing, about forms. But we think that forms are everywhere and in every kind of web application. We find some forms, and we thought about what we can better to deal with forms in a complex environment with many different systems and many different concepts to collect data. And this large picture is in my point of view, the reason why we tried to reinvent the form handling in a Plone site. What we see is what we thought about how we can developer and agents bring together and developing and modeling what they want to have in their core system. In the core system, we need the data we have to collect on the left side from insured persons, from entrepreneurs, from companies in a B2B business. There we have to collect the data, and here we have to deal with the agents of our customer has to deal with. So, and what we have is so much different systems, and what we need is a good format where we can transport a form from one system to another system, and we can interchange forms. And we think that JSON schema is the best decision to do this, because we have we have developed a solution to render this schema forms in a module. We call it View.JSON My colleague will talk a bit more about later. And we can transform the JSON schema to a pydantic schema to offer an open API for companies to send us data with their own applications. So that's what we do. We are modeling with normal Plone content types, like form, like field, like choice field, like arrays. We modeling with Plone content types the whole form. We transfer it internally to a JSON schema and UI schema. And then we generate the form with View.JSON. It's a module developed from Julian. Or we transfer it to a pydantic schema to offer it over Open API. But on the other hand, we needed a solution to seamless end-to-end processing of data. And so it's always a pain to get data and to bring it in a core or in a legacy system, and you can seamless read it, or you can import it in the core database of the core system. So now our solution is, or our answer is, to get a pair of JSON schema and JSON data collected from the users, and so we have a generic method or a generic possibility to processing both schema and data, and it gets information or we interested in, and can do some other things like AI processing or analyzing what we get, what kind of uploaded data we get. We can analyze it and put it to the archive. So with our solution, we get not only a new kind of forms in Plone, we will show it to you later. So we have described the whole process from collecting the data, processing the data, and give the data in the core system of our customers. It's the whole process, and that's was what we wanted to do. And because we have forms in different kinds within the Plone site, together with other systems, or in an app, or in a progressive web app, we developed a solution so we can use JSON schema and UI schema in different ways and in different environments. And more about this, more information about this will give you my colleague Julian. Julian.
All right. Thank you. So now that we know a bit about why and what, I want to go a bit more in depth. Oh, sorry, I'm running away from the camera, aren't I? Well, yes, I want to go a bit more in depth on the how. So, as Lars already mentioned, we define our forms as content objects, and then out of these forms, we generate different schemas. We generate a JSON schema that can be used in data processing and also to render our form. We also generate a UI schema that is an addition to the JSON schema, because for your forms you sometimes need to describe things that are not part of the data structure but of the, well, UI rendering. For example, should objects be above or next to each other, or should there be a placeholder, or whatever. We come to the options later a bit more. There are also additional schema views for specific schemas we might need for specific other endpoints, but that's out of scope now. Main thing is we have a JSON schema and we have a UI schema that are then used by our presentation view that uses a view-based form renderer. And we also have a Flutter-based form renderer in work for native apps, but that's still a work in progress. So, the communication here is JSON schema for data, for the data structure. And the UI schema is loosely inspired from the UI schema in the JSON form library of the Eclipse Foundation, if someone has worked with that. But, all right. So, a quick word on the workflow. Again, as mentioned before, you have a form object in Plone. We'll show that later in a quick demo. And you create fields in that form object, or an object that itself has fields again. And then you can also create buttons, which are part of the UI schema that can submit the form. Either it can create a mail that is sent to a specific participant, or it can post your form data to a specified endpoint, and then you get schemas. Those are a JSON and UI schema for a very simple form that just includes one field, a name field. So yeah, classic. Is everyone aware of what a JSON schema actually is? All right. And we have our UI schema, which is just a vertical layout, which means every field is below the previous one. And we reference the field from the JSON schema, and we can provide some options like, as I said, a placeholder, autocomplete settings, or a help icon popover. Quick demo?
Quick demo later, I would say, because we have to switch over.
Wrong laptop. Yeah, it looks, let's use the pictures.
It's a picture of Plone site. So,
yes.
And you can see a form in the Plone side, rendered by your Vue.json form renderer. And you see some tools there to edit the fields, and maybe, hopefully, we can show it later at the live demo. Yeah.
Okay, then let's skip the images.
Yeah.
And another thing that was necessary for us was to show elements depending on other fields. Obviously, some fields should only open if other fields contain specific things. There are two ways to do this currently. Well, in Edi.jsonforms, in the Plone plugin, there is no way to write those rules manually. They are currently generated by UI settings that you can select. Later, we might add the possibility to write them yourselves and do more complex things. But yeah, there are two ways. This is the old way from version 1, which is rather simple, but also rather short. You can compare a value from another field with a reference value and with an operation that you can choose, like equals or lower than or greater than, whatever. This example says this field should only open if the field visible signs underneath, which would be this one, has the value yes. You can also do more complex things with a rule language that we developed for another project a couple of years ago with the name Rita, which is short for rule it all. It's also JSON based, and it's a lot more complex, but also a lot more powerful. This is a still rather simple example where you have two conditions for the additional field. Here it's just both fields need to have true selected. All right.
Maybe we can
Machen
try
wir the demo?
We can try to make the demo.
Yes.
Julian, help me with the browser.
Firefox.
Let's
use
Firefox.
Firefox.
Okay. And
we needed to switch laptops last minute because the Mac wouldn't connect to the Beamer. So please excuse the short break.
Julian,
German keyboard, also here.
Okay, it's a Plone site. It looks like our customer corporate design. So, and here we have prepared two examples. That's our simple form example in Plone. You can see here's the tools, and later you can choose another view type, and you can switch off the tools. And in a simple way, you can say, okay, that's me, and that's an array type. Seppo is the name of my son. It comes from Finland. So,
Really?
okay, and his birthday, it's a bit later, but I say okay. So a bit earlier. So and so here are the form actions. You can send an email or the form actions. You have to configure the form at first, and after this the form actions. And we have form actions for sending emails. We have form actions for sending the data to a web service endpoint.
Yes.
So okay, and if you want to enhance the form, you can choose a field. It's normal Plone stuff. You can say, okay, surname. If you want to, you can say it's okay. It's a duty to mark it or not. So okay, and it will be rendered in the form. Okay, and it's you know it. You all know it, and you can say, okay, we use the normal Plone tools, classic UI, to deal with the content types. Okay, and the form will be rendered with that component, Vue.json form.
Yes.
And so, yeah.
So
has a nice, pretty form, I think.
Yeah.
And you can switch off the tools by choosing another view. So.
So the web component, the view-based web component you see here is Bootstrap-based. So the whole theme is Bootstrap, and it uses the theme variables that are defined around it. Another neat thing about the fact that it's a web component is that it can also be used in Walther. I tried. As a prototype, it's not yet available, but it is possible.
It's possible, exactly.
Yes.
And I want to repeat why we did this. We did it. We did it because we want, as a staff member of our customer, to model their forms by itself.
Yes.
Without any developer know-how, without any developer resources, they can easily handle with Plone. And if they cannot, we have an online course made by Anki. So we have an online course, and we can help with an online course. It's no problem. But Plone, the content management system of Plone, is absolutely good for such simple things. Modeling a form with form elements, blah, 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 blah. What kind of basic validation we want to have for some field, and what kind of dependencies we want to have for some field. And so quite easy. And so we can have many processes. And okay, in Germany, we are not so good in digitalization, but Plone helps, and that's the message. Plone helps to do this. So, and because we work for customers from the social
public
accident
sector,
insurance public sector in Germany. Okay, so
all right.
some other coming soons.
Yes. So I already mentioned Walther. Another thing, we are working on override options for multi-tenancy systems. So if you have multiple tenants, each of which has a similar form, but not exactly the same, you can override specific parts of the form based on a URL query parameter. I think you're showing it.
Yeah, I think it's easy to
While
show
he's doing that, what we are also still working on, the form rendering is not yet completely JSON schema supporting. For example, if then else is not supported, dependent required is not supported. That's still also on the to-do list. And that's what the override looks like. You have a separate tab in the settings and can specify your fork name and the change that is supposed to be done.
So here you can see your name, and if you choose a parameter, so you can see the name of person. We changed the title here of this field. No, name of person. So in our clients, we have very often the request. Oh, I have the same form, but not the same. So we have to override some things. We can override title, description, some help fields, and we can delete a field from the form and add another field. It's also possible for some for multi-tendencies purposes. So it's it's our solution. But and our solution is to describe the whole process from collecting the data, processing the data with the pair of schema and data, and show this data in a core system, in a core backend system. That's
And most of the packages, if you could switch back to the presentation quickly. Most of the packages are open source. So Edi.jsonforms, the form builder in Plone, is open source. Edi form actions, which provides the buttons for the forms, is open source. And the Vue.json form renderer is also open source and can technically be used independently of the Plone plugin if you have a JSON schema that you want rendered as a form for some reason. But all right.
We are there.
That's all. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And I think time for some questions.
Yes.
Can I have the other
Of
mic?
course, yes.
You can talk to the one. Okay. Thank you so much. We have questions here.
Impressive. Have you actually checked available solutions in this field? So there's some stuff like the Edi.js, which we integrated for customers some years ago, which basically provides the same, something like a graphical UI builder. It's basically just a JavaScript plugin. Or did you do it just because you can?
Two reasons. We have checked some other kind of solutions just before, and but at the starting point, we needed not a pure JSON schema. We needed always a pimped JSON schema with some additional information. So, and the main reason was. First maybe we can, and on the other hand, okay, there are different things we have to do, and the first edition was a complex one. We couldn't give it open source, and now we have, I would say, separated some functions, form actions, JSON forms, view JSON form. We have separated some things, and so. Now we can give it open source. But the history is we had a complex request, and for this a complex answer. And now we have, I would say, now we have simplified it. And for the complex request at the beginning, there was no tools we could choose. So no standard tools we could choose. Maybe now it could be another answer. So, but. We are happy with our solution, our customers too. So we did it. Yeah.
All right. Other questions? Yes.
Thanks. I was wondering, like, we use collective.easyform.
Yeah.
Still.
We did it.
And so, are there any big problems that you have that easyform fixed, or is it in your mind just a general upgrade over in everything?
Yeah. We started with collective.easyform too, but for us it was a bit difficult. We had the main problem was in the backend of collective.easyform is XML. Yeah, XML is the model is described in XML. We needed it in JSON, definitely in JSON. So. And some other things we had, like dependencies, was a bit difficult. Dependencies. We had no arrays, no wizard. So it was. There was some complications or some needs we had, and no solution in collective.easyform. And so we did it in a new way. Okay, that's my answer. But. All our form projects within the intranet started with collective.easyform. That's to say, and so it's a nice project. In another talk, we saw that we are volunteers, and so it's open source, and we were happy to could use this kind of open source. Okay, so it's no criticism. Yeah, criticism. There's no criticism. So, but on the other hand, we had other needs, and so we developed a new Edi.jsonforms.
Okay, one more question. Sorry.
Oh no, I have two questions, but one of them is easy. Where do you store the actual data from the client?
That is then part of the data processing.
Part of the data processing. We give it in a web service to a backend, and this backend stores the data. So okay, and you can use any kind of fast API backend or API backend to store the data. And to store the data, it was not the scope of this project. Form, collect the data, fire and forget, and then. Give it to email and or to a web service API. Yeah.
Okay. And the other question would be, as you mentioned, Walther. I wonder how that like that the presentation will work, like that is clear if you use a web component and so on. But I wonder how the editing will work.
Yeah, well, it's basically you have to use you have to use the folder editing view. It's not possible. It's not possible via, I think it's called blocks. To be honest, I'm not that experienced with that.
Okay.
So I just tried to get it to display the form. That works. I think editing.
Yeah, will be another challenge.
Yeah, okay. If I said, yes, we can develop such a kind of form, we cannot work at the moment with Walther. So we have all our Plone sites with classic UI. All our users are using the classic UI. So it's no problem at the moment. But the better way is to have it integrated maybe in a Walther site. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. I guess our
Thank
next
you.
speakers are coming in, so sorry. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.